So Metroid Prime 4 was released December 4th, and it was a very it was a highly anticipated game. And for me, it is one of my favorite Nintendo franchises. Unfortunately, I will, unless, I go to a friend's house or something like that, but I don't own a Nintendo product. I don't see myself owning a Nintendo product because I've long since stopped supporting that company. But the game, it looks like it's doing pretty well in the sales department so far. However, over the last couple of days, I have heard a few points of contention when it comes to the game. I've heard of stories that the one of the voice actresses, I think her name is Jennifer Hale, she's the one that voice acted, I think, Commander Shepard in Mass Effect. I think she was quietly replaced. You have some other idiot voice actor that is trying to get Nintendo to make Samus a tranny. And then you have Nintendo being Nintendo by locking away music that's in the game behind a $30 paywall, so you can pretty much listen to some music while you're traversing their open world desert segments. So I have a couple of thoughts on each of those. But first, let me just start off and just show just the sales so far. It's not much information, but this small passage here that is provided by three different sources says Metroid Prime 4 Beyond has shown strong sales performance in the UK, debuting at number 3 in the game sales charts. The game performed better on the upgraded Nintendo Switch 2, accounting for 83% of its sales compared to the original Switch, despite a 15% decrease in physical sales compared to Metroid Dread. Metroid Dread, I think that was the game that I think that was the side-scrolling game. When I first saw that, I don't know how good it is. I don't really know, but I was like, okay, if I had a Nintendo system, I would have definitely bought that. But I digress. So this difference is considered marginal, with only a few thousand units affected. The game's digital sales figures are likely to be much higher, contributing to its overall success in the market. I feel ultimately when you have a franchise like Metroid, like Legend of Zelda, or Mario, it's very hard to screw that up. It's very hard. You would have to like go out of your way to do a lot of self-sabotaging. Even though we have seen that before out of companies like Ubisoft that basically completely destroyed their own franchise in Assassin's Creed, and BioWare that destroyed Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Even though I do enjoy both of those games for very specific reasons, however, both of those games should have performed far better commercially. However, when it comes to Metroid, I feel Metroid is one of those titles that Nintendo, they kind of, you don't see many of them. You don't see, like, you see a lot, well, I see a lot more Zeldas, a lot more Marios than I do Metroids. Maybe I'm bugging. Maybe one of you guys in the comment section could let me know if I'm accurate or not, but I don't see many Metroid games coming that often. And I feel that when they do show up, it means something. It's significant. However, a few of the things I have heard also pertains to some of the voice work. Like there's some characters. I think if I can play this, I hope this is going to be coming across where you guys could hear. So this particular person.
What now? Samus? Samus Aran?
Hey! Hey, Samus Aran! I'm stuck! Help me out! Oh! Please get me down. What was that? Okay, that did not sound friendly.
Win?
I don't So with that, I I don't know how many of those segments are in this game. I honestly don't. Um, but I will say this. The core identity of Metroid, as it has always been, is that of an open world type of game, filled with backtracking and such, where you are essentially isolated. You know, you are this intergalactic bounty hunter. You go to these remote planets in the middle of nowhere, and you are dealing with varying levels of threats. And you are basically going from section to section within these worlds, upgrading your armor, your health, your weaponry to battle and combat against a greater threats. And then you have to, I don't know, you go through the self-destruct sequence, you get back to your ship and you fly away and repeat for the next game. So it's not very often you have other characters in the game that has dialogue and honestly, the game was never really, so it wasn't based on that. But now in this modern era, we're seeing that more and more, and I don't know how I should feel about that. Even though it is no sweat off my back, because I don't have a Nintendo system and probably never will at this point. But it is, to know how my early years of playing Metroid and how it was. I understand things evolve, but it's just the path of evolution is what concerns me. Like, for instance, you have characters in Doom, the Dark Ages, Doom Eternal. You can kind of say Doom Guy is kind of similar to Samus in some respect, or just in the respect of they don't say much, right? And the people that are around the Doom Guy in those Doom games, they're not really happy-go-lucky, overtly positive. They're not grinning idiots. They're pretty much battle-hardened soldiers, or they're fearful for their lives, or what have you. But what I just seen just now was some beta mail that they just inserted, because we live in this modern effeminization of the man era, where you have characters like that serve no real purpose. I'm not a fan of it. I call it out. But I understand that what I may not like, you might, and I can respect that, just like I hope people will respect what I don't like. Now, another thing that is kind of crazy, and I'm going to be a little bit all over the place with this, and that pertains to this $30 gimmick, this $30 toy, an Amiibo. I'm not in the Nintendo world, so I don't know much about the functionality of these gimmicks. I just know when I go to Target or Best Buy, I'll see them in the video game aisle, and I'm like, okay, I guess people are buying these for $20 to $30 for some reason. I don't know. I don't care. But then I came across this particular tweet from Luke Stevens, and he basically says, let me get this straight. If you pay $29.99 for the collectible Samus Amiibo in Metroid Prime 4, you get to play select music while driving the Viola bike in the otherwise quiet desert. In other words, they locked music while riding through a desert behind a $30 paywall. Am I missing something that makes this not insane? So when I watch this, I have to admit, when I look at this sequence, that's another point of contention for me, is why is there even an open world mechanic in this game? I understand that they wanted to be a little bit different, but this when I look at this, one, it does not look that great. Two, it does not look that interesting. You're smashing these emeralds. I guess they serve some sort of purpose. And then from what I understand, that the those segments, I guess they have ambient music or ambient sound. So in order for you to actually play legitimate music that's already in the game, right, you have to pay $30 for this Amiibo gimmick. This to me is just, again, Nintendo being Nintendo. And I've said this many times before, even though it's been a while since I've made a video about Nintendo and my I know hate is a strong word, my disdain over the Nintendo company. I don't have any issues with the developers. I'm pretty sure those men and women, they bust their ass to make these games as good as they can be. But it's the corporate structure of Nintendo that I cannot stand. And I've gone in full detail about that in videos. I might even link the playlist because I made so many of them. I think I made 5 or 6 of them. I put them all into a playlist. So if you enjoyed my Tekken 8 rants, I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy my Nintendo rants as well. So I'll leave that playlist in the description and pinned comment of this video. But to continue, I don't think that Metroid Prime 4 needed any sort of open world. I think, and let alone an open world that looks like that. We've seen this before with their attempt at an open world with Gears of War 5. And many people within the Gears of War community, that was one of the major issues they had with that game. I mean, of course, not including the multiplayer, but if we're talking about the single player aspect, that open world was just something that many Gears of War players didn't like. And I've been hearing similar reactions as it pertains to this desert wasteland that Samus is traversing from point A to point B, like I said, with ambient sound. And then in order for you to kind of have music, unless you play your own music through Spotify or something like that, but in terms of the in-game music, you have to spend $30 extra to do that. I think that's absolutely egregious. But as I say, this is Nintendo being Nintendo. They are the scummy ass company that they have always been. But their naive fan base, God bless them, they continue to feed the machine, and Nintendo will keep bending them over and, you know, spreading their cheeks with no lube. And this $30 gimmick is basically proof of that. Now, this is not to say that the game is bad. You know, the game is selling well, presumably, right? In the UK at least. I'm pretty sure in America it's doing well. I haven't checked those figures. The cringy character dialogues, you know, I don't know how extensive it is. It might be limited to like maybe 1 or 2 people. Like, I don't know if it's like commonplace. And then this desert oasis business. I'm not a fan of the open world for this particular game. But I don't think all of those things combined, I don't think it really overtly brings the game down for me. Just based on what I remember Metroid being, you know, when you are behind the visor and you're using her arm cannon and you're fighting against enemies, you know, I think those are the moments where Metroid Prime 4 excels. All of these cringy, pointless beta male and fangirl characters are completely worthless, completely pointless. But, you know, they felt like trying something different. Whether or not it sticks the landing, I would love to hear you guys' comments because I don't own the game, and maybe what some of you do. As far as the $30 paywall for the music, I there's no excuse for that. I think that's absolutely scummy. But the last thing I want to talk about when it pertains to Metroid is this idiot voice actress. Apparently she is somebody that worked on Baldur's Gate, and it says here she let me get rid of this advertisement. She wants Nintendo to canonize a so-called popular fan theory. So right then and there, let me just say this fan theory, I have heard over the years, I don't know if it's happened prior, but the earliest I've heard and read of things like this was back in 2018. And then again, it resurfaced, at least for me, in 2023. And now this chick is bringing this up again. I think these people, I think they probably did not play the original Metroid, where you get the actual real ending and Samus takes off her HER, her helmet, and you see that she has actual hair and she's a female. And, you know, anyway, let me just scroll down. And also, just to put this out there, all of the articles and whatever I'm using here, you can find them in the description of the video, because I know I'm pretty much skimming through this, but I do feel it might be worth your attention if you're interested to check out these articles. So yeah, this person's name is an Abigail Thorne. She wants Nintendo to confirm that Samus is a tranny. The actual quote is, "I still think Nintendo should come out and tell us what we already know, which is that Samus is trans." She says with a wry smile and a chuckle, "People just think that we've misunderstood her character. They think that she's like a mother." I've never heard anybody said that. And it's like, no, she's a badass trans bounty hunter from space, okay? So she's right on one thing. She is a badass bounty hunter that works in space. Like, you know, she's not from space, but, you know, she travels from planet to planet. So she's right on that front. There's so much I can say about this, and it may or may not get my channel completely demonetized, or at least this video demonetized. And I don't know if I want to risk that. But let's just say, if you are a game developer and you are trying to make profit off of a game that you are spending several millions of dollars creating, marketing, and so on and so forth, if you value your sales and the health of your game, do not bend the knee to the mentally ill. That's all I will say on that front, because like I said, there's a lot more I can say. And I have said much about Dragon Age the Veilguard in that regard, and we see what happened with that game. So maybe I'll make another video where I'm talking about that specifically. But yeah, Samus is not a tranny, never was a tranny, hopefully never will be. But you know, it's Nintendo. They may or may not bend the knee to these types of people. And then next Metroid game comes out. Oh, look, you know, Samus is stunning and brave. Like, I think if that were to happen, it will just be yet another franchise and another game that those types of people with those types of abnormal ideologies will have ruined.